I bet I drill a clean hole in somebody today.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I just finished doing a 10-hour and 30-something minute stream. My brain is fried, but I want to talk about this thing that Arslan said on day 2. It revolves around Tekken 8 balancing. I know there was a lot of people out there who was like, why is Arslan, because he did the interview the other day where he was talking about the rivalry with Knee, Pakistani culture, but I seen a lot of people talking about why is he not speaking up about the Tekken 8 balancing, especially when you take into consideration in that same interview, he said that he is not afraid to critique the game and the developers.
That's a lot of players are doing. They don't share their opinion because they think that, oh, we might upset someone, we might upset developers. I'm not a kind of guy. I just say my opinions.
People were saying, hey, we'll speak up about the game. And surprise, surprise, Arslan Ash is not holding back. As you can see here, this comes from Dextero, one of the biggest gaming accounts on Twitter. Tekken legend Arslan Ash told Dextero Tekken 8 has to release patches faster and nerf OP characters if they want to win back players who don't like Season 2. The quote is, Tekken 8 is going in the right direction. Every patch is getting better and better, but they can make it faster. Now, this is a pretty interesting thing because there's been a lot of pro players who've been singing the same tune. It's a common known fact that the developers delay balancing for tournaments. In the past updates, it says it specifically. No balance adjustments are planned for the next update as several major esports tournaments are scheduled that month. In the previous update, you can see that they say, considering several major esports tournaments will take place in August, the updates scheduled for August is not expected to include any balance updates. So this is something that they've done for a very long time where they delay balance until tournaments end. And a lot of the times it's until all of the tournaments end. Like we have this tweet here from CBM. This is an old tweet. I went back and found old tweets so you can see how the conversation has developed over time. CBM says, every first year of Tekken series was not balanced well. Maybe a lot of players don't have experience with Tekken 6 or Tekken 7. Also, it's during the World Tour 24 season that they didn't change a lot, but expect them to make change at the end of the year. Now, this is what a lot of people said during season 1 of Tekken 8. Year 1 is that, come on guys, give them some time. After the year, they will make the game better. A lot of people held on tight for the developers to do it. And as we all know, season 2 made everything much worse. And now a lot of people don't want to wait a whole nother year for them to potentially not fix all the problems, because a lot of problems there is, and they haven't given us true confirmation that those problems will be fixed. You basically have to hope and wish, like we did with season 1, all over again. But take a look at this tweet. This comes from Joe Crush, a pro player doing very good at Evo right now. Please, as a part of the 1% of competing players, do not worry about us. Focus on making the game better for everyone. I don't care if the game changes a ton mid-season if the changes are actually good. That's what should be prioritized, not if we'll be able to manage them before tournaments. And this is responded to someone else who was basically saying the same thing. The developers, are delaying balance for tournaments, but the tournament players do not want that to be the case. But here's the thing. That wasn't always the case. Here is a tweet from March 15th, 2022. This says they are adding a balance patch 3 days before the tourney. What, bro? 261 likes. Tweets like these was also common throughout Tekken 7. The players hated that the developers released new characters or balance patch right before the tournament. And all of that hate they received during Tekken 7 is what made them not only delayed balancing till after tournaments, but until after the entirety of the World Tour. But the thing that's different now is that Tekken 7 was nowhere near as broken and as unplayable as Tekken 8. So that's why the conversation has shifted so much, and with the conversation changing so much, so do the developers and how they're responding. Adding to that point, I pull up this news article from Event Hubs. Reader mode is turned on to block out all the ads. Tekken 8 developers are aiming to balance the game when necessary. Say pro player opinions on tiers are changing day to day. They did a Tekken talk and they were talking about how pro players' opinions change basically daily. One day we're talking about this character, one day we're talking about that character. And for those of you who remember season 1, you remember how everyone was jumping on every other character. Eventually we all settled down to talking about characters like Yoshi, Jin, Brian, etc., Nina, Dragunov. But with season 2, that sort of fluctuating nature that we've seen doesn't exist. The things that we've been saying about season 2 on launch is the exact same things we're saying about season 2 now. And we're like 6 months later, something like that. Someone correct me in the comments. But the point is that the developers, by their own words, said that they will step in when necessary. Pro players are asking for it. Average players are asking for it. Now is the time to step in. The news article specifically that talks about Arslan and Ash putting pressure on the developers to speed up the balance patches, it says, it's safe to say Arslan has beef with the speed of Tekken's balance patch. The game's development team has been transparent about delaying these patches to avoid impacting major tournaments like EVO, and while understanding this, Arslan thinks Bandai still could meet competitors halfway. This is a quote from Arslan Ash. I am not a developer, but I feel like if you have a very big franchise like Tekken, you should have a bigger team balancing the whole thing. I think it shouldn't take too much time for you to balance. Now keep in mind, we know Tekken to be Tekken Project, but Tekken Project is under Bandai Namco Studios. Bandai Namco Studios is the gaming division of Bandai Namco Entertainment that produces all of the games. We know how those guys were in major debt because they had a couple other games that was terrible. Not Tekken 7, not even Tekken 8. It wasn't out by then. We also know because of those other mishandlings, they had their staff and their team cut in half. This is why players believe that Tekken 8 is lacking in manpower, and a lot of the things seemed half-baked. You talk about customization, you talk about items, you talk about lackluster battle passes, you talk about reusing a lot of stuff. It seems like they don't have enough people, so they're trying to cut corners every way possible, and maybe that is also being applied to the balancing as well. To continue with Arslan's quote, it says, the game is going in the right direction. Every patch is getting better and better. But can they make it faster? As a competitor, it's our duty to learn and adapt. But they also cannot introduce a bigger patch just 2 weeks before a tournament. So it kind of makes sense. But they can do it faster. What Arslan is saying here is true. The developers definitely has been adding a lot of good updates to the game. Fog Mama is a good addition. You know, every update prior has been, pushing the game in the right direction. But the common trend amongst everyone, from Maximilian to Main Man to everyone is saying it's just not enough. We need something big, massive, and that's great for the game to put it back on track. And yes, Armor King is part of that, but you also need a very good update with Armor King, and not good, but just big, a lot. There's a lot of diabolical characters in this game, a lot of terrible mechanics in this game. How many times have players been talking about doing multiple tailspins per combo? Things like that should be an easy clap. The developers have to give the players a lot in a update to satisfy them and make them care to be invested in the future. This game has a lot of potential, but they're squandering so much of it. Yes, you have the die-hard players who will always play Tekken, but when you talk about 12 million copies sold of Tekken 7, a lot of those players will not return unless you give them a real reason to return. And so far, Tekken 8 has not done that, not once throughout the lifespan of this game. We need a W.